quero agradecer ao Bruno por apresentar para a gente as ações do Ministério da Agricultura e Pecuária para que a sustentabilidade da cadeia seja viabilizada. E agora nós teremos o painel O Futuro do Setor e a Rastreabilidade. Lembrando que você pode enviar suas perguntas para serem respondidas aqui, ao vivo, pelo QR Code que está na programação que você recebeu. E eu chamo agora ao palco o moderador do painel, José Fernando Belo, presidente executivo do CICB. Uma salva de palmas para o Belo. E eu também convido a subirem ao palco os painelistas Bruno Meirelles Leite, coordenador-geral de produção animal da Secretaria de Inovação, Desenvolvimento Sustentável, Irrigação e Cooperativismo do Ministério da Agricultura e Pecuária. Francisco Olavo Pugliese de Castro, presidente da Comissão Nacional de Bovinocultura de Corte da Confederação Nacional da Agricultura e Pecuária do Brasil, a CNA. Fernando Sampaio, diretor de sustentabilidade da Associação das Indústrias Exportadoras de Carnes, a ABIEC. E o auditor fiscal federal agropecuário Gilson Renato Evangelista de Souza, chefe substituto do Serviço de Fiscalização de Insumos e Saúde Animal. Um ótimo painel a todos.
Alô. Boa tarde a todos presentes. Boa tarde aos painelistas, obrigado pelo tempo de vocês ter vindo aqui colaborar com a gente. Eu estava observando as palestras do fórum, fiquei bastante satisfeito, uma ótima qualidade. E fiquei pensando, nós já realizamos o Fórum de Sustentabilidade CICB há mais de 10 anos, e historicamente a gente falava de tecnologia, sustentabilidade focada principalmente aos nossos clientes, a questão de atendimento ao setor automotivo, atendimento ao setor de calçado, de artefatos, de móveis, decoração, mercados exigentes e tal. E agora eu vi nas apresentações o que eu já vi há um ano atrás no fórum anterior, que foi Caminhos para a Traceabilidade, fotografia de boi, de rebanho, boi, cabeça de boi, frigorífico, pecuária, pensei, alguma coisa mudou. E mudou mesmo. Porque os curtumes são muito bons na produção sustentável de couro. Nós temos o maior número de curtumes certificados em sustentabilidade do mundo, o Brasil, e temos um desafio em comum na cadeia produtora, que é resolver a questão da rastreabilidade. Não é um tema fácil, é um tema complexo, e nós tomamos a liberdade de convidar 2 painelistas do ano passado do Fórum de Rastreabilidade, que é o Fernando Sampaio da ABIEC, representando os frigoríficos brasileiros, exportadores de carne, o Francisco, da CNA, Conselho Nacional da Agricultura, estiveram aqui conosco, debateram, e eles vieram aqui para a gente apresentar como nós evoluímos de um ano para cá. Não temos a solução plena para a traçabilidade, mas evoluímos. Estive fazendo um cálculo, nós do CICB participamos em um ano em mais de 70 diferentes reuniões tratando de rastreabilidade. Reuniões com os europeus, reuniões com o governo brasileiro, com entidades parceiras, com todos elas da cadeia, em busca de sensibilizar todos para ter uma solução em comum. Hoje, assistindo a palestra ótima do Bruno, representando aqui o Ministério da Agricultura, a gente vê que esse esforço nosso está valendo a pena, porque o Ministério escutou as demandas do setor, não só do couro, mas da cadeia produtiva, e está lançando uma plataforma robusta que vai nos auxiliar em muito na solução da rastreabilidade. A solução ela passa pela iniciativa privada, que somos nós, aliadas ao governo que está aqui conosco, principalmente o Ministério da Agricultura, Óbvio que temos outros ministérios engajados, como o Ministério do Desenvolvimento, Indústria e Comércio, MDIC, Ministério do Meio Ambiente, Ministério de Relações Exteriores, estão trabalhando todos alinhados. Mas para iniciar o nosso debate, eu perguntaria de imediato para o Fernando Sampaio, da BIEC, que tem participado conosco em muitos fóruns e muitas agendas, como tu estás vendo a construção de um ano para cá, com o que nós evoluímos, os gaps que nós temos e onde nós podemos chegar até o final do ano.
Bom, obrigado, Belo. Obrigado pelo convite aí do CICB para estar aqui esse ano de novo, né, no Fórum de Sustentabilidade. Eu falei ali, quando botaram a foto do produtor, da indústria, do governo junto, caiu a força aqui, não, deu pane no sistema, não aguentou. Mas eu acho que isso está sendo superado, né? Porque, como você falou, desde o ano passado, que esse tema está na agenda e a gente vem discutindo intensamente dentro do setor, né? Como é que a gente avança com essa agenda de rastreabilidade. E eu acho que a gente tem, primeiro, né, uma discussão geral de rastreabilidade acontecendo no país. A gente tem um problema específico com a Europa de atender a UDR, né? E a gente tem uma discussão que é dividida, né, entre uma parte sanitária e uma parte ambiental, porque quando o pessoal fala o Brasil não tem rastreabilidade, é mentira, o Brasil tem rastreabilidade, né? A gente tem uma rastreabilidade que foi construída para fins de defesa agropecuária, de sanidade animal, que funciona, e é o que garante o nosso acesso a mais de 150 mercados que a gente manda carne no mundo inteiro. Mas o que se pede hoje é que a gente adicione garantias ambientais em cima das garantias sanitárias que existem. Isso demanda adaptações, inovações nesses sistemas de rastreabilidade que a gente tem. Do lado privado, a nossa indústria vem, desde 2009, implementando esses sistemas de controle. A gente viu aqui a apresentação do Minerva, que é um dos associados da BIEC, mas a gente tem, hoje, todas as indústrias nossas que operam na Amazônia praticamente estão trabalhando com esse geomonitoramento. Então, a gente aprendeu, criou esse know-how de localizar uma propriedade, cruzar essa informação com dados públicos. Isso, lá atrás, era difícil de ser feito, ninguém sabia, custava caro. Hoje, qualquer um faz, né? Você cruza essas informações. Então, do lado privado, desde 2009, a gente vem aprimorando isso. E a gente escutou aqui, né, do Bruno, a iniciativa do Ministério da Agricultura, do governo avançar com uma plataforma pública que integre esses dados, porque esses dados também, isso é uma vantagem do Brasil em relação a qualquer outro país, né? A gente tem muita informação, elas estão em lugares diferentes, em formatos diferentes, e esse Data Lake é o que vai juntar e integrar essas informações todas numa ferramenta pública e gratuita, né? Então, assim, a iniciativa da Secretaria de Desenvolvimento e Inovação do Ministério da Agricultura é a primeira vez que a gente tem uma convergência tão grande de apoio de produtores, o Chico vai falar isso, a indústria também. Quer dizer, é uma ideia muito boa, né, colocar isso para funcionar, e ela merece ser apoiada em todos os sentidos. A gente tem dito isso publicamente, manifestado publicamente esse apoio. Essa plataforma precisa funcionar porque a gente precisa dessa informação, né? Vai ser o governo brasileiro dando esse status para a propriedade, que ela está dentro da legalidade, que ela tem uma produção sustentável, enfim. E isso a gente vai conectar com os sistemas de rastreabilidade para fazer essa informação chegar no produto. Eu acho que, em relação... E aí a cadeia do couro e a cadeia da carne, né, compartilham o desafio da rastreabilidade na pecuária, a mesma cadeia de fornecimento. Esse controle que eu falei que a gente faz hoje no fornecedor direto, né, a grande discussão é como é que a gente leva isso para a cadeia inteira. E aí entra a discussão da rastreabilidade do boi. A gente tem, hoje, um sistema de rastreabilidade que é obrigatório, que é o trânsito, né, de animais em grupo através das guias de trânsito animal. Então, esse controle existe, ele é obrigatório, mas a gente está falando de uma rastreabilidade em lotes. E a gente tem a possibilidade da rastreabilidade individual, que é essa de botar o brinco no boi e seguir esse boi do começo até o fim. O que a gente, como indústria, entende, Belo? O Brasil precisa avançar com rastreabilidade individual. Eu acho que a indústria entendeu isso, vocês também. A própria CNA já fez propostas nesse sentido. A Secretaria de Defesa Agropecuária também tem uma proposta de como fazer isso. Ou seja, o Brasil precisa avançar nessa direção. Eu acho que a discussão agora é muito mais do plano, né? Por onde se começa, né? Se a gente faz... por onde começa geograficamente, mas por onde começa também, se é na engorda, se é na cria, se é num trânsito interestadual, enfim, a gente precisa pensar num plano de implementação, que a gente está falando de um país do tamanho do Brasil, com mais de 200 milhões de cabeças, a gente sabe que isso, né, não adianta decretar que amanhã vai estar tudo brincado e rastreado, porque não funciona desse jeito, a gente sabe disso. Então, como é que a gente pode construir um plano onde essa rastreabilidade individual possa ser expandida, né, a gente possa democratizar o acesso a brinco, apoiar os produtores a participar do sistema, criar incentivo para isso. Então, a gente precisa... Já entendemos que a gente precisa caminhar nessa direção. Eu acho que a gente precisa agora sentar e desenhar esse plano do como fazer de uma forma racional, que não crie resistência, que crie, né, que dê apoio para os produtores participarem e a gente avançar com isso. Ao mesmo tempo, seria um desperdício muito grande não usar a informação que existe de trânsito, que é a que existe hoje nos bancos de dados dos sistemas de defesa agropecuária, seria um desperdício muito grande você não usar uma informação que existe, né, a um custo muito baixo e com uma escala muito grande. Então, a ABEC fez também uma proposta de como usar essas informações de trânsito, e a gente entende as resistências que existem por parte dos produtores e até dos serviços de defesa em usar a GTA para qualquer outro fim, e a gente concorda num ponto, a GTA, como instrumento, ela precisa ser preservada, né? Mas a gente pode, ao mesmo tempo, usar a informação que existe para chegar... O que a gente precisa? A gente precisa saber dos territórios de origem que geraram aquele lote e garantir que esses territórios atendam determinados critérios. A plataforma que o Bruno apresentou pode ser uma solução para isso, ou seja, o status da propriedade já ir junto com a GTA, por exemplo, mas também tem outras maneiras, como a gente propôs, né, do cadastro ambiental rural ser a informação, você chegar nos cadastros que compuseram o lote e, a partir disso, fazer uma análise. Enfim, eu acho que existe uma convergência muito grande do que a gente sabe que precisa acontecer. Existem propostas na mesa, tanto de como usar essa informação da rastreabilidade em lote, de como ampliar o uso da rastreabilidade individual. Agora, a gente espera, né, enfim, eu acho que o Ministério tem esse papel, né, de coordenar o debate, de chamar os entes da cadeia, de pegar essas propostas. A gente tem uma proposta da Mesa Brasileira de Pecuária Sustentável, que a ABEC faz parte, a ICB faz parte, a CNA faz parte. Então, como é que a gente pega essas propostas todas e começa a coordenar o debate e a ter, de fato, um plano, né, do que vai ser feito, em quais prazos, o que a gente consegue fazer com rastreabilidade em lote, o que a gente consegue fazer com a rastreabilidade individual e como a gente garantir que a gente consegue mostrar que a maior parte da produção brasileira já é sustentável, já está dentro desses critérios de compliance, como é que a gente capta essa informação e passa para o produto.
Obrigado, Fernando. Antes de passar para os amigos do Ministério, eu vou provocar o Chico, da CNA, pecuarista. Chico, é a mesma pergunta que fiz ao Fernando, tá? Como tu vês de um ano para cá a evolução desse tema, os diálogos, a sensibilidade? Há muito tempo atrás a pecuária era um pouco mais arredia, essa busca de solução de traçabilidade. Eu sinto que tem mais adesão, mais sensibilidade. E eu sei que sempre tem tua pergunta assim, de quem vai pagar essa conta. A gente tem que deixar na mesa essa pergunta, porque isso custa dinheiro, alguém vai ter que pagar no fim do dia. Tá? A plataforma que o Bruno apresentou da SDI, eu achei muito bacana a questão do acesso do produtor de forma gratuita, isso é muito importante, mas a cadeia toda vai ter custo adicional. E qual a tua impressão de um ano para cá nesse tema?
Boa tarde a todos, obrigado pelo convite mais uma vez. Eu acho que a gente tem que falar sobre isso cada vez mais e cada vez mais, para tirar isso do campo das ideias e transformar no que tem que ser. Eu sou representante do produtor rural, então quando a gente fala CNA, eu sempre faço esse preâmbulo antes, para deixar claro que a CNA é a Confederação dos Agricultores e Pecuaristas do Brasil, e ela representa todos os produtores rurais. Ela é formada pelas federações de cada estado e pelos sindicatos rurais em cada cidade. Então, na essência, nós somos produtores rurais. Apesar da CNA ser em Brasília, eles delegaram essa missão à minha pessoa, que mora em Rondonópolis, no Mato Grosso, e que faço parte de uma família que é a terceira geração de pecuarista, onde a gente tem confinamento e seleção de Nelore e PO. Eu fiz esse preâmbulo para dizer, eu nasci, vivi e vivo e viverei, se Deus quiser, muitos longos anos, dentro de uma fazenda, com os meus amigos, vizinhos, com os meus amigos de outros estados, também pecuaristas, e eu vejo exatamente o que acontece da porteira para dentro, o que muitas vezes não é visto por quem está montando todo o planejamento dentro do escritório, ou em Brasília, ou em São Paulo, ou dentro da sua associação, ou da sua entidade. E eu digo para vocês, o produtor rural já foi muito mais refratário a essas novidades. E por empenho da CNA e nosso, a gente vem comunicando a necessidade do caminho sem volta que a gente sabe que vai ter. Então, a gente concorda plenamente que é um caminho sem volta, não há dúvida nenhuma. Quando o Pratini de Moraes, lá em 2000 e no começo dos anos 2000, resolveu fazer, eu acho que a ideia dele estava 20 anos na frente, né? Porque ele não conseguiu fazer, porque não tinha as tecnologias que tem hoje, não tinha as facilidades que tem hoje, não tinha internet, celular era só para falar com a outra pessoa. Hoje o celular ele é muito menos para falar e muito mais para tudo o resto. Então, 20 anos depois da primeira tentativa de uma rastreabilidade geral no Brasil, eu acho que chegou a hora da gente voltar a falar sobre isso e fazer isso sair do papel, não tem a mínima dúvida disso. Aonde que está todo o problema, no meu ponto de vista? O produtor rural do Brasil, ele tem um nível tecnológico muito diferenciado, é do nível 0 ao melhor do mundo. Nós temos isso aqui no Brasil, nós temos as maiores tecnologias de ponta, vanguardistas do mundo, e temos aquele cidadão que não tem curral, e são muitos, e a gente pensa como um todo, a gente não pensa nos bons, porque os bons vão tirar essa rastreabilidade de letra, os bons, digo, os mais bem preparados, né? Bom que eu falo no sentido material da coisa, não é no sentido pessoal, né? Porque tem muito, minha mãe dizia, todo mundo é bom até que prove o contrário, né? Então eu acho que todo mundo é bom também. Então, nesse aspecto, a CNA fez uma promessa para você, Belo, você lembra? Aqui nesse local, não sei se foi nessa cadeira, aliás, muito confortável essa cadeira de couro, viu? Eu não sei se foi nessa
cadeira do Curtum Minuano.
Aí, pronto, muito. E aí, você falou, pecuarista, a CNA precisa se posicionar, e eu falei assim, vou fazer um compromisso, nós vamos colocar uma proposta de rastreabilidade e protocolar lá no mapa. Menos de 30 dias depois que nós saímos daqui, o ano passado, a CNA foi lá no mapa com uma proposta que possui 17 itens e protocolou, votou na Câmara Setorial da Carne, foi aprovado na Câmara Setorial da Carne e foi protocolado no Ministério da Agricultura e chegou nas mãos do SDA. Então, efetivamente, o produtor rural é o único que protocolou uma proposta na CNA. O resto é só discussão. Quem chegou lá e falou, da nossa parte, a gente aceita desde que seja assim, só fomos nós. Dos 17 itens que nós propusemos, 14 é pacificado. Está todo mundo de acordo. Mas tem 3 que é muito discutido. Cada um quer de uma forma. E eu achava assim, quando nós começamos a sentar na mesa e negociar, depois pararam as negociações, até não sei porquê, a gente está até querendo que o mapa volte a chamar a gente para sentar, porque a gente sabe que o que a gente
what we don't want is to wake up with a decree. We want to discuss for the decree to be done with the possibility of being used. So it was proposed by the Secretary the creation of a management group, and we think this is welcome. But this group never got together. But we continued to show our proposal around Brazil, and we did this in a way that was we were. The word is not humble, too humble, but we did not leave margin for negotiation. Maybe we were too innocent. We should have asked more to negotiate, and we didn't. We did, it must be like this. So when we said, look, the traceability, individual traceability of cattle, and it's very important. It's the definitive program of health and traceability and social and environmental for Brazil and the world. From Brazil to the world, it must be done in 8 years term. Well, some people were crazy. CNA is crazy. We don't think that this number, this is a pretty number, this 8, the infinite upright, but this is how we see the possibility of implementing this. We're not saying that it will start in 8 years. We're saying that we started today. If we have the tools, if you have the system, we start today. And I'm certain that the cattle that is exported quickly, way before these 8 years, it will be traced. But to do it with 234 million animals, according to IBG, we're not going to do this until December of 2024. I will say, I won't say I think, I'm stating until December 2024, it's impossible to do any action that could have individual traceability to meet the demands of the European Union. It's impossible. We need to have an emergency plan so that individual traceability of health is important. That's certain. That it must be implemented. It's certain. That it has a term, a deadline to do it. The farmers understand that this term is needed. Within this term, they can't be out of compliance with the law, cannot be fined. It cannot create we can't create a chaos of penalties for those who don't participate. participate because the market is pressuring everyone. So we need a plan to leave, to come out of this trap that was created. I understand that. I will highlight again. I have no doubt that traceability, health traceability, is certainly the solution of everything. SDA has an important mission. My point is the deadline for this. While we cannot do this, can make this reach a level that Brazil can export easily, and in the case of leather, this is a little bit more complicated because leather needs more leather than only the leather for export, but all types, all areas. That's why we need to accelerate this even more. But anyway, I understand that it goes through the emergency plan and action like the one proposed by SDI, this platform, this new platform that is being proposed through GovBR. I believe that if we understand that we're going to walk at the pace that we need to with individual traceability, soon it's going to deliver what it's willing to. But meanwhile, in this, I mean, tomorrow it's 8 months, less 1 day. So we must have a second or a B plan that will offer some security to the external market that is official or officialized by the ministry, so they can say that they are purchasing beef that is not coming from any area that has some environmental liability or that contributed to destruct the planet, because that's how they think. So then, when it was proposed, this platform, I'm a guy that I'm a veterinarian by training, so I know the importance of animal health. And I know that the ministry did such a good job, and here we must congratulate all the persons involved, that the health area is resolved in the world, even though I think it should have traceability to be fully resolved. But the world does not question anymore the health of animals from Brazil. In the beginning, it was questioned. When Pratini decided to do traceability, it was for health, it was not environmental. Today, the world is more concerned with social, environmental, and indigenous labor issues and so on than actually with health. I'm not saying that health is not important, but because the health part was resolved well. So this is the truth. We did it very well. So I believe that we can move forward in the necessary speed to develop an emergency plan with traceability done by lot and location and area, creating an environmental CND by area. According to IBGE, Brazil has 234 million cattle, and Brazil, according to IBGE, has a little bit more than 6 million properties. So wouldn't it be easier to know 6 million properties than to know 234 million animals? If we make an effort, if Brazil makes an effort, it's not the farmer, because the farmer already 95-6% they already have car. The problem is that the governments don't work, don't analyze. But imagine that 100% of Brazilian farms are
estão analisadas.
evaluated, they are known, and they have an environmental C&D. Then you could say that any calf that is born in Brazil is sustainable because we know the whole country and we know that there are no farms and I mean 100% is maybe too much, but 90 something, the farms that do not fulfill the legislation, we know which farms are those and we don't let them sell. That's it. The others that we let allowed to sell, they are already certified that they are environmentally sustainable. That's it. So it doesn't matter if the supplier of the supplier of the supplier is something, then this guy, I'm sorry to be too incisive here, but they will be within the law. If all farms are, the animals will be. So the effort now, I think, should be the effort should be area with SDA doing a magnificent job with these people who are fantastic professionals. Dr. Carlos Goulart, the secretary, we cannot stop, we must accelerate this, but I understand that if we go to the maximum speed, we won't be able to deliver to Europe what they want until December 30. So we need to have a buffer plan that I'm calling an emergency plan. This emergency plan, when traceability is ready, can even forget about this plan or not. They can go together because some countries will say, for me, health traceability is not important. I just want the environmental one, and that's okay. The other one will say, no, I want to know that calf the day that it was born. Okay, you can have it. You'll have everything. So I believe that it has evolved a lot. My mission is to share to the farmers that traceability is coming, and they will have to understand that they need to participate and to do it. Second, that there's people thinking about them, that CNA is taking care so that this truck won't come and run over the farmers. So that in this transition moment, we hope that there is a transition when our currency changed. You that are older, because I don't remember when the Cruzeiro became real, they created the URV unit. So had the Cruzeiro, then the real value unit, something like that, and then the real. It was a transition. We went from an inflation of 100% per month to an inflation of 1%. This happened through this transition, as everything in life. If we don't do this, so if you have a big plan and this plan has a deadline, while it's not ready, you must live in another way. I'm not saying that we can't do it. We can do this for everyone, but we must prove to Europe or whomever that they're going to receive a product, leather or beef, that is coming from properties that don't have environmental liability from the origin to the end product. So I'll say the following. I'm scared with this issue from Europe. If they said no, December 31 is the day, the D-Day, so we must start to think in an emergency plan and continue to accelerate the plan, the health plan, because at the end, this is the one that's going to solve everything. Great, thank you, Francisco. I will take this opportunity that we have Gilson here, representing the Secretary of Animal Defense from the Ministry. Welcome. And as Francisco said last year, in August 24th, the Secretary Goulart invited us in Brasilia and he presented a project to make possible the mandatory traceability in Brazil that would start in November 2024. It wouldn't be 100% for us, but it would be the beginning. And he suggested a governance committee to manage this, where we would have ABIEC, CICB, Embrapa, CNA, I think FANESA, among others. But unfortunately, the meetings did not take place. I don't know if you have some information about this project, but how SDA is working with SDI, because in the ministry this integration is fundamental, because SDA at the time was concerned with the issue of traceability because of health, as Chico said, because at some point Brazil will be vaccination free for this disease, so we need some control. And another demand would be integration between the states in an electronic way to integrate the transfer forms. I don't know how this is working. Good afternoon. First, I would like to thank the Secretary for the invitation, and also I apologize because he could not be here today. So that's why me and my colleague and fiscal auditor Alice, representative of the ministry, is here to address this topic that at first, as was well explained, it's not a simple thing. It's a very sensitive topic, as was well demonstrated in this afternoon. The complexity and the involvement of so many different actors in this process of traceability, and now I'll focus more on traceability for cattle raising because it's my area, and there are several factors involved in this. It was mentioned for how long we've been working on this. Prachini de Moraes, I think, if I remember the first regulation, I think it was from January 2002. At that time was already providing for a certifier entity in this process. 2006, we had the normative instruction that improved this process. In 2009, a federal law creating the mandatory traceability for livestock groups, fire branding the animals. The objective was to have identification, at least for the property that the animal came from, and in this regulation provided for if the animal changed properties, it would receive another stamp, and so on. Today it's a bit complicated to talk about branding the animals with other brands, so we're not doing this, but it also opened other possibilities of identification. In 2018 we had an evolution in this process with normative instruction 51, which is what we have valid today. This is the system that is in force, and I think we should highlight that it's a system of identification, individual identification of animals, that can and should be used as the basis for any official certification of whatever protocol. This is well clear and defined in the protocol for export of beef to the European Union. The tool that ensures the traceability is the system of individual identification, so we cannot mix that up, the traceability system, that it doesn't exist, but what exists is this system that is a tool to support any protocol of traceability that might be created, and this would be an official mechanism to provide sustainability to any protocol. So this is important to make it clear. Regarding these demands, what could I say? I will bring that to the secretary about the meetings. I don't have information about this group that was created, but I don't know if Bruno, it seems maybe there's a technical group. No, I mean, there is a technical group that is working in the ministry. So I believe that while this technical group does not conclude this technical analysis of this process, that is very complicated. There are many factors, many elements, many actors involved. So I believe that this call for the continuity of these meetings, this process, as all the others involved in the chain, should come after this work is concluded. And the information that I received now is that it's being concluded. This is the previous analysis, so I think that it will move forward. But what I can say here is that I'll bring this demand to the secretary. Thank you.
Thank you, Gilson. I have a question here, and then we can discuss a little bit more about this work group in the ministry. A question asking, when is the platform going to be available? The platform you mentioned, and how are the companies are companies going to get access to them? Well, we have a deadline for the very first stage of this platform will be July 2024. The very first stage is when farmers will have the chance to classify their property. So the deadline is July 2024. The form of access for people who might be interested in consuming that information with all restrictions, with all the rules, of course, that we've been working on that. SAPO is in charge of it, and so I don't know. I cannot speak with authority. It's going to be made available via API. Platforms will be connected one to another. But there is this information security thing. They've been working on it, but I cannot speak with authority if this is going to be a stage that will come later, or if it's in place now. I don't have that information right now because it's not my area of expertise. That's outside of my territory. Can I just say something here? Yeah. Well, the question is, when are industries going to be able to check things on the platform? At CNA, we have reservations about people getting access to those that data. We're totally against it. What industries can check is whether or not we are positive or negative. They can log on using their CPF. If everything is fine, they're good to go, then they get a CNP. They got a green light, period. They don't have to know anything else other than that. Of course, you're very right. I think I was a bit superficial in my answer, but just like I said in my presentation, what is being sold by farmers the moment they create a batch and sell the batch without all that information, or whenever they're certified by CND that you mentioned, that is being handed, that is being delivered as a QR code saying there's no personal information on it. That is the only type of information that will be contained there. And then if they're compliant, it's going to be fine. So there is no data transmission from the farmer. So whenever they're selling a batch, it will say that this product will meet certain criteria. And we are working on that platform by checking several databases, and so there are some filters being added to it, and so your journey will be included there if you're getting access from the European Union. If this user just needs to be compliant with the Brazilian legislation, anyway, they can do that, but there are no data sharing, so farmers can rest assured. Do you want to say something? Can I just go ahead? Can I just say something here? As was the last one, I think we need to put together a plan B. I was talking to Fernando earlier on. I think there's a possibility here at the ministry to assess to assess the properties as a whole at a full standard. I think we're evolving that. I think there's a possibility this is something that can be done. I think we could explore it as an emergency plan. And the internal discussion has been resumed. There is a work group, and we have received a proposal from EBIAC and a proposal from CNA. There is a proposal from the Brazilian table, which was not officialized, Oh, perfect. It was on Tuesday. A presentation has occurred. And so the whole point of it is to have a model that meets the needs, meets everyone's needs. And I agree with you, if this discussion had begun way before, like 7 years ago, we would be way ahead. What I want to say is that I think the very first question about Bella is how much we have evolved in a year. I think everyone began to think about solutions. CNA, ABAC, the government, everybody built proposals in terms of what needs to be done. And I think we got a lot of stuff in common. And I think it's the time to sit down and see, is to officialize this plan. What is an emergency? What is a medium and a short and a long term? And for me, I think the ministry should be in charge of overseeing this conversation, of this discussion. You've been conducting technical discussions in your offices, but in fact, if you get something good out of it, this is our request. We would like for the ministry to call every interested party to begin discussing the plan. I just have a point here about the platform. Of course, it's been designed to have the users' information concealed and identities concealed. So within legal terms, legal norms, I think today, it's one thing to have traceability, but at the time you give the chain this level of transparency, you can have a variety of problems. Several properties that are not in accordance with some given criteria. Today, the industries can, whenever we monitor non-conformities, industries can help farmers. Today, industries will have to tell them, if they're suspended, if they're in the blacklist, or the way to get out of it. And so we have to think about the consequences, how we can get the farmers, get those farmers who are in non-conformity, how we can clear their status. There's no point not showing up to them, not buying them, or refusing to buy from them because they engaged in deforestation. But there is another story, to deal with farmers. We need support in regularization. We have direct information. We need to think in mechanisms to bring everybody together in the chain. How that's going to be done? How are we going to provide support to to states, how we're going to regulate this process with states. And so, Bruno, the step one of this platform, the deadline will be July this year, right? Do you have a specific date? No. Step 2 has been developed too, and it involves a lot of confirmation of information. You know, the use of technologies, the ABC plan, so it can characterize that. The way step 1 has been done, if we think about the European Union, we can connect it to animal traceability, whether or not we're going to be do it individually or in batches, or if we are going to create a closed group of suppliers. You know, number one, if we were to do all that, number one would be good to go. Step 2, add value that would address the needs of other public policies like ABC plan, access to subsidized credit, and the estimates for 2 and 3 are December 2024. They don't necessarily they run in parallel to one another. No, they're being designed by 2 different groups, but their complexities are different. One is more complex than the other. I got another question here, Fernando. If I'm not mistaken, last year we met with some managers from Europe in Brasilia. So created a work group with 7 sectors involved in this protocol, involving soybeans, cocoa, wood, lumber, palm, soy, meat, coffee. Is that all? And we had a meeting, a very interesting meeting in Brasilia 2 weeks ago with European giants, people who wrote the norms and who are familiar with them. Every sector brought their concerns, their demands, and we from the leather sector, we stated we're not ready to address 100% of the demands. But the soybean industry has challenges too, so does coffee, all of them have. And we listened out to all giants from Europe. We had some arguments and claims, and my impression is that they're not going to extend this initiative. We asked for an extension, we asked for a transition period. We made a point that we're not going to have 8,000 skins to hand on January the 1st. We run the risk of burying all of that, and thus creating an environmental damage. And on the other hand, the press has been saying that Europe is likely prone to giving an extension. What do you think about that? Well, these days I checked on the newspaper that Europe would be postponing the implementation of the law. People only read the headlines, they don't read the content of the report. You know, the European legislation dictates that the countries where this group of commodities is produced, they have to go through a risk classification in terms of deforestation. Some countries will be high risk, others will be low risk. And there is no difference. Everybody has to be in accordance with the legislation. The difference is importers who will buy a commodity in a low risk area will be audited more times. There's a difference for them there. What happens is Europe would be hire a consultancy firm to develop a method for risk classification. It delayed. They wanted to publish it by December. It's not going to happen. It's going to take a while. They don't know when it's going to be published. But the legislation begins to will be in effect in December. This is not going to be postponed, but all producing countries will be in the same category, same risk category. Everybody will be equally controlled. So there are no extensions here. But you know, the legislation will be in effect in December. And in fact, our demands, what we have saying to Europeans and the Brazilian government, is if we don't have a smooth transition, we may have an issue, a very strong disruption in the market, both in terms of beef and leather. According to the law, we would have to monitor deforestation at every single property the animals set their foot in. This has not happened. We have been setting over 5 tons of beef per year in Europe, but the only thing I can say is that the Hilton quota which is like 3 million tons, that is being monitored, it's being controlled. Other than that, no. As I mentioned, we have 12 million skins, 8 million skins. So you would have a much smaller volume. We need some time to have complete traceability, full traceability. And so this is what we have required in the negotiations to begin to guarantee part of the animal life, the deforestation control, but we need more time to have full traceability. This is what we are asking. Well, people, we're coming to the end of our session. Please, Chico, any comments, anything you'd like to say, please make yourself at home. I would like to thank you guys. Thank you for the invitation, for being so welcoming to me. I hope I could share some of the views of the farmers in the country. I just want to say that people are engaged. I've been to Amapá, state of Pará. I'm going to go to Rondônia next month, to Tocantins, Pernambuco, Goiás. We have talked about traceability to farmers, and I see they know when we talk about from farmer to farmer, they understand things clearly and they see the need. But in Acre, for instance, I went there to the state of Acre. First of all, they need to be the owners of their own land first. There's this guy who said, we don't have the ownership. So first, I got a case of this guy who was not the owner of this property, but he wanted to work with traceability, and they advised him to get ownership of it. But it's important not to forget this topic. We have to talk about it all the time, and this is how we can get these. I had a veterinarian friend of mine. He said, okay, you got lots of ideas going on, and then the whole point of it is just to select the most important ones. Thank you, people. Gilson, final remarks, please. I would like to thank for the invitation, and just a final remark here. As for volumes, today we have over 1,000 properties that are enabled to export to the European Union. Here in Rio Grande do Sul, we have over 50. So that means over 4 million heads in those properties today. So these properties would be good to export to the European Union if you could. Perhaps it would be easy to address some environmental issues with them, but the majority of them are. They depend on supplies from other properties, And so it's a lot of work. We've got a lot of stuff to do, but it's important to start things. This is an example I always like to bring about the Aptus fever. I've been working on that since 1997, and I've worked in several divisions, but I've been working in traceability since 2018. Last time we had We had the foot and mouth disease in 2008. We could ensure ourselves that the virus was not circulating. In 2010, 2014, 2017, we have been foot and mouth disease free, and we still are. And it seems to me that for certain things are working, things begin working when the people set the deadlines. Begin planning, strategic planning from PNFA, put things to work. And in the end, in Rio Grande do Sul, having a deadline to meet, I think things can go. Perhaps saying CNA can decrease from 8 to 5, I don't know. We can negotiate that. Thank you.
Thank you. I would like to ask you a question that from the audience regarding beef, the chamber, the sector chamber. What would be the role of the beef chamber in this negotiation? Would be an advisory group to the ministry? Well, the beef sector chamber is the place where all the chain gets together. So there are several sector chambers. We have sector chambers from all activities of agriculture and livestock. There's from beef, from milk, agriculture, so on. That's the only place where you find the supermarket, the grocery stores, the industry, the slaughterhouse, the leather industry, the farmer, the NGOs are also there. The associations. It's the place that it's the broadest place, and it's the place where where you discuss the chain and you subsidize or you base the decisions of the ministry. So the ministry asks if the chain agrees with this or not, and why does it agree? Because it was discussed in the chamber and the chamber approved that. So that's I think that in this point the proposal of CNA has this advantage, but we know that there are three important points. But it's very important to have this beef sector chamber. Bruno, your final remarks. So I'd like to thank you for the invitation. We had this platform is being discussed with all the associations and representations of the different crops. Initially, the first ones are the ones that are in the European Union law, so we have advanced the work of SERPRO, and we are now going to another stage, which is validation of requirements and so on. And then the participation of the sectors will be very important. In the last meeting that we had with ABIEC, this was shown to them that we are open to see how this is going to be done. At CNA, it was done, a presentation was done, but it was more general. So when we resume with livestock, we're going to need your participation because as you said, sometimes you're in the office and your computer, you write down a requirement, but that in practice it doesn't work. So our concern is that this will serve, it will have some, will meet some ends. So we are going to work on this together, and I want to mention here to give my thanks to the organization of this event, because this roundtable was very good, because I have been participating in these discussions. The slaughterhouses, I always meet with them, but many of the discussions that are organized by civil society, the farmer who is going to tag the animal or is going to do everything is not involved. So I see that this discussion of sustainability and traceability very often is not considering the ones who are really doing the process. So it was very good, the composition of this panel, so we could have this sincere, honest discussion about what we must do, because this is a very important economic activity for the country, and we must all be together on the same boat. We cannot row in different directions. Thank you, Bruno. Fernando, your final remarks. Thank you. I think it's what I said before. We must use this forum to bring this demand, to continue the discussion between the government and the industry and farmers. The proposals are all on the table. The solutions are being built as well. And we need this plan. I think that the discussion of where we're going to start or advance, I think we can solve this among ourselves and create proposals. There are states as well. Pará already is willing to start traceability. Santa Catarina did this in the past. We gave this idea to Rio Grande do Sul state because the meat industry, for us, the Rio Grande do Sul should be the Brazilian Uruguay. It's a high-quality meat with no deforestation. You already have an advantage on the market, but we must think about the ways, different ways to advance with this plan. And I think that from the health perspective, the removal of the vaccination requirement makes more urgent to improve our sanitary or health control. It's another issue. It's not only social environmental, but also health, and this will be the basis for us to evolve in markets that we don't have access today due to the lack of trust in the Brazilian product. So we must, in terms of markets, to gain markets, we only will gain it by demonstrating our control of health and now also environmental. That's it. Thank you. I'd like to thank my colleagues in this panel and everybody who attended and the sponsors, and we see you next year. We would like to thank everyone who attended the CICB Forum of Sustainability 2024 with the central topic links to traceability, and also FENAC Experiences Connect and FIMEC and the following gold sponsors.
BKS e Miquelon, patrocinadores Silver
sponsors,
Midori Auto Leather, apoio foi de Euroamérica.
And the support by Euroamérica. This event was performed by the Brazilian Leather Project in partnership with the Brazilian Agency of Promotion of Exports and Investments, APEX Brazil, for the growth of Brazilian leather in the external market. Thank you everyone for your presence and see you in the next edition.